Hello, everybody. Hope you're all well. Thanks for joining me. Give this a share and a like. Give me a like if you're concerned, um, and give me a share and give me an old subscribe and all that jazz. But I want to talk about more about Roderick O'Gorman, the new Minister for Children, the new Sinister for Children. What? Um, and there's a little bit more news about that, to be honest. And from the start with this story, I've had a kind of slightly nuanced take as well on this. Hi, everybody there in the chat. But I've had a slightly nuanced take, which is kind of like, it's one thing, the original story, which is like Roderick O'Gorman is pictured next to this guy. It's a bad look, etc. Right? That's one thing. And I always maintain that, hey, if you just come out and say, you could even say, Peter Tatchell has done work for vulnerable communities and I respect him in certain ways. But in terms of his opinions here, I completely disavow these. And I apologize if anybody got the wrong impression, as I am Minister for Children, obviously. And that's it. My take was that, like, it's the original issue is a story itself. Yes, that's unpleasant. We don't like it. We would like him to disavow. But it grows legs when he fails to disavow, in my opinion. It's like, if it's, I'm not saying it's fatal to this guy's career. I don't know. Some people have different takes on that. But, like, I'm not coming out saying that this guy is a monster himself. I don't know enough about him to be fully sure about that, right? But what it is just a fact of, like, okay, just disavow it. Just, then you're rid of it. It's fine then. But he hasn't. And far from it. It's on the contrary. Au contraire. It's the other way. Because I'll just read you a slew of some of the things that have come out today on this. And I won't keep this too long. I'll just do that and leave it there. But this stuff is important. So we have the queer Greens, they call themselves, right? This is on Twitter. I don't know if they're officially the Greens, but they've gotten a lot of attention on this one. I can see they've got 100 odd retweets, 100 odd shares. They say they're the LGBTQ plus members network for members of the Green Party. I'm going to assume it's official because it looks that way. But if it's not, it's not. But it's still out there, right? So it's much of a much. They say, we would like to condemn the vicious attack against Roderick O'Gorman. Oh, and by the way, for anybody, I'm going to pause myself. For anybody who hasn't followed this up until now, just a quick explainer. So Roderick O'Gorman, new Minister for Children, was pictured in 2008 or 2018, excuse me, at the Gay Pride Parade in Dublin, pictured with Peter Tatchell. He actually posted it himself to Twitter saying, delighted and proud to be standing next to Peter Tatchell here for the day that's in it. Peter Tatchell is great, something along those lines. And so he posted, it's not that he was in the same room as him. He personally associated himself with Tatchell. And Peter Tatchell has all sorts of controversy. It's a little bit complicated. Some of it is murky. But one thing is for sure is that he has said that effectively that he knows that of people from the age of 9 to 13 years old who have enjoyed or benefited from their sexual experiences with adults. Now, if you're of the opinion like me that a 15-year-old and much less a 13-year-old, much less a 9-year-old is capable of quote unquote having sex or having a sexual experience with an adult, if you agree with me that that's fundamentally impossible, and any encounter like that is rape because a person of that age cannot consent, no matter what they say or believe or whatever. A child cannot consent to this, right? Obviously, they're children dealing with an adult, so if we agree that that is rape, then sex between an adult and a 9-year-old is rape, even if you were to interview the 9-year-old and the 9-year-old said, well, I think it was okay. It's obviously rape because it's a 9-year-old, right? And that's not just my opinion. That's not just an uncontroversial opinion. That is the law as well. If that, as if it needed to be stated. So, when you think about it, and Peter Tatchell, it's not in isolation. He has associations to the Paedophile Information Exchange, in the 1980s, which was a pedophile advocate group. He's been, some people link him to that. It's alleged that he wrote a chapter in a book that was had chapters written in it by PIE, Pedophile Information Exchange. He has these associations, but the real one is the one where he came out and talked about 9 to 13-year-olds having sexual experiences, quote unquote, with adults. You know, it's like, as I've put it earlier, and in a way, this almost sounds like overly salacious. Like, it sounds like I'm putting a spin on this to take something that is innocuous and making it sensational and kind of muckraking. It sounds like I'm doing that, right? Listen, the controversy, because the queer, actually, sorry, I'm getting the order wrong. Let's go back to the queer Greens. 2020 is wild, right? We would like to condemn this vicious attack against Roderick O'Gorman, who has been the focus of a hate campaign, whatever that means, a hate campaign against him due to his sexual orientation. Okay. The queer Greens stand with our friend and colleague, Minister Roderick O'Gorman. So I just replied to that to say, you know, and this is where I get back to it, to say my reply, if you didn't know any better, would sound like I'm sensationalizing what is really a storm in a teacup, and what I'm adding language onto this that is completely over the top and misattributing reality. Well, let me put it to you. I said the controversy is about Roderick's association with a man who says 9-year-olds can benefit from being raped. Now, I think you'll agree with me that it sounds like I'm, you know, blowing it up, but actually I'm not. That's the thing about this. I'm not, and nor are other people who are making noise about this. The controversy, it's a controversy, objectively, is about Roderick. It's about Roderick's association. It's about Roderick's association, because he put up a tweet carrying a banner, standing proudly next to this guy only 2 years ago. So the controversy is about Roderick's association. We've clarified and defined that much so far. With a man, it's Peter Tatchell in the video, who says, Peter Tatchell has said, that 9-year-olds can benefit from being raped. Now, the only thing, if Peter Tatchell wanted to, you know, take a legal action against me, he could say, I didn't say 9-year-olds being raped. I didn't use the word rape. That's the only thing he could say. And I would say, okay, well, our dispute is that a definitional question of whether a 9-year-old can kind of, you know, put on the Barry White and, you know, pour a glass of wine and, you know, maybe throw on some Netflix and chill back. And unless you think that that's what a 9-year-old can do, that they can, maybe aside from the wine, I mean, if they're being raped, they might as well be. I don't want to get into it, right? And I don't want to even be kind of glib about it. But like, unless his version of events is that a 9-year-old can have sexual relations like an adult can, it's sick as it sounds, right? Or that they can only be raped by an adult. Now, I believe the latter. So the only difference is whether Peter or Roderick or any of their apologists and defenders can suggest that the 9-year-olds aren't being raped. That's the only question of exaggeration or anything of that description. Other than that, and I think, you know, nearly every sane person would agree with me on that. You know, even the guards and the law and everything would agree with me on that. So again, I'm overdoing it because this is actually uncontroversial. I'm just stressing the point. That's true. The controversy. So for all these people who say this is a bullying campaign against a poor old minister for children, a poor old minister, oh, such a vulnerable person, a politician, a TD in our country, as if you're not supposed to criticize them vigorously. You know, as if that's not supposed to be the norm. I thought that was meant to be the norm, right? Oh no, you can't say something mean about them. Sorry, I'm just getting some of my something to snack on there. But so yeah, the controversy is about Roderick's association with a man who claims that 9-year-olds can benefit from being raped. That is the long and short of it. That is it. That's all it is. So if you say it's a controversy, it's a hate campaign, or it's a hate campaign, it's bullying, it's made up stuff, it's all that. It's like, no. The controversy is about Roderick's association with a man who says 9-year-olds can benefit from being raped. Now, either disagree with me on that fundamentally, factually, or shut your mouth, or agree with us and stand with us and ask Roderick to please disassociate himself loudly and proudly. He's used to being proud and having pride and all that. Well, have some pride now. Have pride in disavowing sexual relations between adults and minors, extreme minors in the case of 9 to 13-year-olds. Take pride in that. I want to see that pride. We've seen gay pride. That's cool. Well done, right? Now I want to see pride in disavowing pedophilia apologism and advocacy, and perhaps even pedophilia itself. That's the pride I want to see from our new minister for children. That would be great. It shouldn't be hard. And there's more. I want to get to the real, nuggets here to start with, really, and then we can just kind of cruise on through the rest. So, his shoe says, similar. And bear in mind my thing I've beaten on the head so far for the first while here, which is my statement on this controversy is about Roderick O'Gorman's association with a man who claims that 9-year-olds can benefit from being raped, right? That's it. Keep that in mind. Tattoo that into the inside of your brain, right? As we go forward. Hazel Chu says, I see trolls, whatever that means. I see trolls are out in force for my colleague, Roderick O'Gorman, posting lies and creatively editing things people have written to present as facts. So she's, by the sounds of it, don't sue me, Hazel, calm down, right? But it appears, or one could suggest, that it sounds like she's not only defending Roderick, but is she, I ask, going a step further and actually defending Tatchell? Am I right or wrong there? Posting lies and creatively editing things people have written. No one's claiming that Roderick wrote something, are we? I don't think so. We're talking about Tatchell writing things. Creatively editing things people have written to present as facts. I think it feels like she's defending Tatchell there too, which is something, hey, if someone I knew was involved in that trouble, I'd either come out and I suppose I would condemn them. But if it was really expedient and I had no choice and there was something like that, I mean, I would just disavow them. If it was one of you, I would disavow one of you. But, I could see the argument for someone just staying quiet for their career or whatever. I could see Hazel Chu's argument for staying quiet for her career and all this, but it's like, hey, no one's making you come out and defend Tatchell. Jesus Christ. Are you getting mad? Like, don't do that. But yeah, she's posting lies and creatively editing things people have written to present as fact. So does she disagree with this direct quote from Tatchell? I'll read you in case you think I'm making it up, direct quote from Peter Tatchell. The positive nature of some child-adult sexual relationships is not confined to Western cultures. So he's being pure anthropologist here, Several of my friends, gay and straight, male and female, had sex with adults from the ages of 9 to 13. None feel they were abused. All say it was their conscious choice and gave them great joy. That has not been disputed by Tatchell or anyone else. So, Hazel, what is this lies, posting lies and creatively editing things? No. Tell us about that. So, no, that's bullshit to start with. And it feels like she's defending Tatchell, which is a very unwise thing to do, I would say, Hazel. Well, our new minister must be doing something right if these idiots, i.e. normal Irish people who don't like paedophilia, apologism and advocacy, must be doing something right if these idiots are after him. Don't let the bullying win. Report. And I assume that means Twitter. Report on Twitter. And this is one of the key points I wanted to get across tonight is that, and some people mention this, it's a great point, is that we are entering a stage, we're kind of converging on a singularity here of like clown world, where on one hand, people like Hazel, people like Roderick, who's the man in this spotlight here at the moment, are currently advocating hard. These are Charlie Flanagan 2.0s. They're going to be advocating hard and pushing in these hate speech laws, right? If you don't believe me, if you think I'm making it up, look it up. They spend half their time talking about the hate speech laws. We have to introduce the hate speech laws, blah, blah, blah. And their hate speech laws are very vague. And, of course, it means whatever they kind of say it means effectively, right? And they can pigeonhole anything they don't like, any criticism they don't like into hate. It's hate in some way, and something that is objectively hate, but that they like, then isn't hate, right? It's all clown world stuff. But in a parallel sense, they're both pushing for this hate speech stuff. And then when Roderick has this association, which he should, and I've said this from the start here, just disavow it. Say you condemn and disavow this stuff, and you perhaps apologize as well, especially for taking so long, and then just move forward as Minister for Children. And best of luck to you, right? But you're not doing that. And as I put in my thumbnail, he's blocked me. He's blocked me on Twitter. He's blocked anybody else who's criticized him. His proxies, Hazel Chu and all of these people are defending. There's no argument for, oh, it's just these people online who are so insignificant, I haven't heard it, right? Nobody believes that anymore. Everybody knows he knows about this. And his communications team and press team and all, or whatever they are, they know about this. So it's like, okay, given that you know about it, you know it's an issue for you. Just so why would that be hard? Like if I said, like if I was at a protest in or something, some demonstration 2 years ago, and some nationalist demonstration or whatever, and there was someone there who I took a picture with, who I was like, oh, this guy's great, does nationalism great, you know, he's really good at the nationalism. And I thought, he's a cool guy or whatever. So I took a picture going, delighted to be here. And then it came out that he had said things like this. I'd have no problem. I'd say, whoa, totally nothing. I don't want nothing to do with that, right? I might say, listen, the guy I took a picture with, he's done some great work in some regards. And I can never stop respecting that work, or it is what it is, right? I did like that work, and that was objectively good work he did in that regard. And actually, the guy's a nice guy when you talk to him and all that. I could even say that, but this stuff I want nothing to do with, and I don't know, do I want to associate with him much more, right, or at all? And certainly the point of view he espoused there, no. And I think I would just go full bridge burn, but I'd have no problem doing it. I'd say, guys. First moment, I'd go, absolutely. I took a picture with the guy. Don't hang me for it. Don't condemn me for it, right? I only took a picture with him and tweeted. I didn't know that. I didn't know, so I disavow. I disavow now, right? Obviously, I'm Minister for Children. That's what I would say, right? So the question is, like, why not just do that? And here's, just to return to my point, we have this parallel track. We're converging on this clown world singularity because they're pushing for the hate speech laws, and they're taking a situation where they could do what I've just described, which is this, easy disavowal, right? And they're going, we're not going to do that. That's an action at a certain point to not do it. That is, at a certain point, it's a positive action to not disavow. They're going down that road, and instead calling the people who are asking for this clarification hate. They're calling them hate. It's hate. It's a hate campaign. It's hate to say it. It's hate to do that. And then they can associate it with the gay thing. Oh, it's because he's gay and whatever. And even if people did say, oh, it doesn't matter. That's people could say a million things on top of the fact that he has this association. I could say, someone could come out tomorrow and say they could add all sorts of embellishments to it. It's not just that he's gay. It's not just that he's this association. It's that he's gay and has this association, and it's that he's whatever height he is and has this association, and it's his, political history. It doesn't matter. You can't just attach that onto it to discredit it, right? The fact is he's associated with the guy. Don't go on about the gay thing as a defense mechanism, right? So it's like point being, they have these associations, and the same people are trying to impose laws that would probably make it illegal in some way to call someone like Roderick out in a black and white, clear-cut situation like this. I mean, come on, he's Minister for Children, for Christ's sake. This should be an easy one. They're going to make it that you can't. And if you think, oh, they won't do that, they wouldn't try to legally, by state mandate, like in terms of fines or prison time or something like that, they wouldn't try to use that to stop you from being able to say it. They might create state law to stop you being able to say things that are genuinely hate, but they wouldn't apply it to what you're saying now. They wouldn't want to, as much as they might criticize the criticism of Roderick O'Gorman, they wouldn't actually try to quash the criticism of Roderick O'Gorman. Well, no, because she's saying don't let the bullying win, report. The only difference is right now she's saying report on Twitter to get somebody banned off Twitter for criticizing Roderick O'Gorman. And if a hate speech law comes in, Why would she say report someone to ban them off Twitter because it's on the basis of hate? But if we have legal hate speech laws in the actual law of the country, we won't use that. Do you get me? The logic there. If she's saying we can report people off Twitter for this as hate, then surely it would count under her own drawn up hate speech laws as well. Surely, logically, right? I almost think she would kind of nod and agree with me on that. It seems to be what she's saying. So it's like that's the clown world we're converging on. It's insane. Guy stands with what some people would say is a paedophile apologist, and becomes Minister for Children, and not only fails to disavow, not only steps down, whatever it is, at least they disavow it, but actually points the finger back at the people who have an issue with it, the mothers and fathers, ordinary people up and down the country who have a serious issue with this. I mean, that's clown world beyond like CCP proportions. It really is. Like if you were trying to, a CCP senior member, if you tried to call them out for being a pedo, or not for being a pedo, because we're not calling Roderick, or I'm certainly not calling Roderick O'Gorman out for that, but for associating with pederasty, pedophilia apologists. If you called a Chinese version of that out, a CCP one out, they would just come down and kick in your door and have you dragged away in the middle of the night. They probably wouldn't even have the gall to call you bad. They'd be like, you're probably right, but we're in power. Here it's different. They're like, this is hate. You're a hateist for pointing it out. Insane. But I just want to get to some of the hot takes as well, just online. National Party have said just a while ago, people are justifiably concerned about whether Ireland's Minister for Children, Roderick O'Gorman, endorses the controversial views of Peter Tatchell. And they're quoting a guy here, Owen Hanley, who is let's just figure it out. He's a Galway Social Democrat, another one of these. Owen Hanley seeks to characterize this concern as anti-LGBT sentiment. This is not a good look, Owen. Protect Irish children. So that's the National Party. And let's just look at this councillor, Owen Hanley. What did he say? I think I recognize this guy. I think I crossed paths with him in direct provision controversies or something. No, I recognize the face anyway. He's a absolute muppet. What did he say? He said the hate being flung around at Roderick O'Gorman is all too common for LGBT plus people in public life. See, that's interesting because it's like if someone says, okay, gay people, I understand the point. Or what the point he's trying to convey or kind of sneak in. He's trying to say basically a gay person, all things being equal, gay person becomes minister, some kind of high position, and suddenly people just start calling him a pedo, a pervert, this, or that, the other, right? And I understand if there's someone who's gay who is in a position and they don't, if they're in a position and they don't wear their sexuality on their sleeve even, and they're just, but it is known that they're, in their personal life, they're gay, right? They're gay, that's fine. Or even if they're, even if they're like proud about it or whatever in some kind of way, like they make no secret of it, right? They're just, but it's not the big thing about them. They're just gay, but they also happen to be a minister for transport or whatever. And you look through their history and they have just as standard a history as anybody else, no strange views on any sexuality thing. Unless, besides, like, if you're a point I'm making is like, there's nothing there, in the same way as the average person, there's nothing there to find. Like, you won't find me. I don't have some weird opinion on like any strange or obscure or let's say taboo sexual issue in particular, right? You won't find anything. And what I'm saying is that this hypothetical gay person who happens to be a minister for transport, if someone just said, oh, he's a pedophile, he's a pervert, he's a this, he's a that, he's a whatever, I would be, and some of the hardline people might say, oh, I'm being weak on it or whatever. It's like, no, I would easily say, listen, that's that's just propaganda, it's smear job, trying to discredit the guy. You're just picking up on a kind of a quote unquote trope and applying it where there's nothing to be applied in this situation. The guy doesn't, you know what I mean? Show me where there is a weird thing going on where you can apply this pedo-y, pervert-y, weird thing. You can't, because the guy is just like most people, you can't. So if that were the case on Roderick O'Gorman, I'd be like, yeah, I don't want any part of that. That's silly, right? It doesn't, if for no other reason, it just makes you look silly, because it's like, but this isn't that at all, at all. He is standing with Peter Tatchell, delighted about it. And the guy has said that, let's phrase it very accurately here, that people from the ages of 9 to 13. So he has said that 9-year-old people, 9-year-olds can get great joy from being raped. Now, that's not normal, right? So this is bullshit. It's all too common for LGBT people to get this nonsense. It's like, well, are you saying that it's common for LGBT people in public life to just will always have something like this to be found on them? Because if you are, that doesn't paint a very good picture of gay people, unfortunately. So I think you're a bad representative. It's all too, if this is all too common, I'm worried. I honestly think people, the LGBT societies or whatever, should condemn Owen Hanley and try to get these people out, because they're giving you a very, very bad look. If this is all too common, wow. So trying to bullshit characterize this as something that it isn't and trying to wave it away. It's basically trying to imply that this is just an invented smear, which kind of connotes some of these quote unquote tropes. It's like, nah, yeah, there is trope to it, but it's not, it came about. I understand the trope, but it's not invented from thin air here. Like, this is real. Like, he's associated with a guy who says 9-year-olds can get great joy from being raped. It's pretty insane. I don't know how to phrase it. How controversial can it be? Like, how you couldn't come up with something more controversial than that. I mean, only if you like, what? The only way you could make that more controversial is to say, instead of it being he's associated himself with someone who says 9-year-olds can get great joy from being raped, would be to say he's associated himself with people who think or who claim that 9-year-olds can get great joy from being raped and cannibalized. That's I mean, I suppose that objectively is that little bit more controversial. But besides that, I couldn't, like, even with a wild imagination, I couldn't even write. I mean this literally. I couldn't write something more bad, right? Something that you should go, whoa, I disavow it straight away easily. And yet, no, I and you are being called hate or something like that, while the media bury their heads in the sand. And speaking of which, actually, Phil Dwyer, I'm finding here now in front of me, because it's brilliant, and I can't play it because my internet is useless. But I'll explain it. Phil Dwyer from the National Party went to, I think, outside the Dáil. Maybe there was a reporter there, RT news reporter Paul Cunningham. And they said, hey, and the optics are so good, like, because they're looking through the gate. Your man, Paul Cunningham, is inside the gate, and they're outside the gate on the street talking in at him. So he's inside the castle, so to speak, and they're outside on the street. They're the people. But that's just symbology there. They're speaking through the gate, asking him, have you not heard about someone here in the chat, Gorilla Patriot says, Philip Dwyer, some man, a set of stones. Yep, 100%, absolute legend. Complete asset, worth his weight in gold, and standing up for Ireland big time. So they're talking in the gate at this news reporter, and the news reporter's like, what? I can't quite hear what he's saying, but he's being a bit glib about it, and like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, no, he said this. And it's like, oh, well, did he really, what did the guy really say? And they make it clear. They go, listen, he said that X, Y, and Z about Tatchell. And like, it's all over. Like, Phil's like, it's all over the internet, right? It's not like you couldn't help but come across this online, especially you as a journalist. Come on, guy. Like, why don't you ask him about this, right? Your job is, you're the one who can get in Roderick O'Gorman's face with a microphone and say, hey, we're just going to ask you about this, and it'll be very easy. You can go, yes, I completely condemn those views, and so just do it. It's easy, right? Just you as the reporter and you as Roderick O'Gorman, this whole thing, easy. Why not? And that's my thing. Why not? Why not just do that? But yeah, so Phil and his friend here, I can't quite see the face. No disrespect, but the lads anyway do this. It's very good guerrilla kind of media tactics here in their own way. But additionally, change.org petition about Roderick O'Gorman has been removed. So it went up a few hours ago, and I saw it got 2,000 signatures, and that's just in a few hours. So you could expect that to get to 10,000 easily, with another few hours or into tomorrow. And it's been taken down. I think there were two were put up and two were removed by change.org. Now, again, let's just take the equivalent, right? I obviously think the very concept of racism in 2020 is just bullshit, right? Obviously, I do. But let's just look at it at face value according to the modern day mores and norms, right? That racism, quote unquote, is bad. It's the worst thing ever, right? Let's just take that at face value. Like I said a few nights ago, so-and-so politician is the new minister for integration. I don't know, or if there is such a thing. There kind of is. I think actually that's Roderick is that too. But so-and-so is the minister for whatever, the new one. And it came out that a few years ago, they were pictured next to, take your pick, Richard Spencer, I don't know, David Duke, whatever, right? These kind of big, known racist so-called figures. Pictured next to them, not pictured next to them, but they actually posted on their Twitter saying, "I'm here with David Duke, delighted to be here at the National Heritage Pride Day." And then people put up a petition saying that so-and-so politician had this association. We would like him to condemn it. Sign if you think so-and-so should step down because he associated with David Duke. And that by associating with David Duke, who is a known quote-unquote racist, then the minister in question is also racist, right? That wouldn't be, no one would say that's a defamation or whatever. People would go, no, totally. I mean, he's racist until he gets on his knees and apologizes. And then maybe he's not a racist, but until then he is. And that's uncontroversial. And here's our petition. As people, we're saying, that's it. Just there's our petition. So it's very odd to me that two of these get taken down. What's that about? And if you say, well, if you go, no, Gerard, in fairness now, racism's pretty controversial. In fairness, no, your analogy there, racism's pretty controversial, I would go, yeah, and saying that 9-year-olds can get, quote, great joy from being raped, i.e. pedophilia apologism, isn't. I mean, if there's one thing more taboo than racism, it's still, thankfully, for the next while anyway, pedophilia. So, I mean, what's this about? So it's not a matter of, it's controversial, it's controversial, so change or taking it. They wouldn't with racism. It is taking the points of view ascribed to Peter Tatchell and overly ascribing them back to Roderick O'Gorman, which kind of becomes a bit defamatory and a bit smeary. So maybe that's why they're taking it down. Well, again, in the situation where, Micheál Martin is pictured next to David Duke 2 years ago saying, I'm delighted to be here at the Heritage Festival, and people put up a petition saying, well, Micheál Martin is by extension racist too. No one would say, oh, well, it's a false characterization of Micheál Martin. He actually only was in a picture with him, and therefore that's completely wild to make an association. No. So logically, there's no reason for this petition to be taken down, except that the regime itself is in on this stuff. The big tech regime, whatever, that we are approaching this point to kind of almost call someone, to say, listen, obviously pedophiles will still go to jail, like active pedophiles, whatever the word is, pederast, pedophile, people who actually molest children, right? They'll go to jail for a while yet, right? But strong advocacy for kind of pedophilia-ish rhetoric and association, that kind of stuff, which should be on the level of racism, in the same way that, like, it's a third rail. I'm an advocate for that being a third rail. Like, even that person who says something that they didn't quite mean, I am an advocate for taboo on this. I am. Like, even if someone from the heart, for genuinely, as a genuine intellectual journey, wants to for some reason very regularly, not just once, but a few times, say, well, actually, if you look at evolutionary biology and you look at this culture and that culture, and if you actually do statistical reports on this and that, actually, a kid having sex with an adult is this and that. I don't care if someone says that from a position they're going, I'm just looking at intellectualism. I'm just something like that, right? I don't care. I advocate for third realism, where you touch that and it doesn't matter what way you meant it, you're getting burned, right? I'm an advocate for that. I'm sorry, especially if you seem to do it quite a bit. I am an advocate for that. So it's like we're approaching a point where they are disconnecting the voltage to this third rail very methodically, I feel. I mean, you look at Drag Queen Story or Glitter Hole, doing that, right? I think they're trying to disconnect this third rail, to say, no, it's actually something you can get rather close to. And now that when the people, what they will say, the pitchfork wielding hate mob who will come after you, well, we'll deal with them, we'll ban them. So now it's the third rail is kind of shifting around. Now it's de-electrified. And when you touch it, you're also kind of protected as well. So you can just go for it. It's creating this climate of acceptance and kind of comfort to talk about these things and have these associations, and nobody can touch you because it becomes this nebulous hate. So, when the boomers and the Qmers go on about like pedophile elites and empires and, all this kind of stuff, right? Some people laugh at that. Some people like whatever. And, I'm not a Qmer myself, right? I think most of it is ridiculous, but there's no smoke without fire. And, they're not, some of the details sometimes when they say there's devil people living underground, constantly, with pedophile empires everywhere, in the attic, under the ground, in the sewer system. It's like, yeah, some of those details, I'm like, look, it's a bit ridiculous. Some of the Pizzagate stuff, yeah, whatever. Totally, right? But there's an essence there, and there's a truth to it as well. Now, I don't want to associate the stuff I'm talking about here with like, you have to be, if you believe what I'm saying, you have to be into all the Pizzagate stuff. No. I'm distinguishing myself from that. Call me arrogant if you want, right? But I am. But I'm just saying there's, they're obviously onto something. And when people talk about this, they're onto something. The idea that the elite are pushing for this kind of, it's like, it's the open society. It is. The open society, the last massive hurdle, really. Once you've borders taken down, family deconstructed, identity, largely religion, all this stuff taken down, you can be, if you're gay, you're gay. If you're polygamous, you're polygamous. Look up Avril Cryan, Cryan, Nuig. She was kind of trying to soft sell the idea of creating legal loopholes and stuff for polygamous marriage in Ireland. But this kind of stuff, polygamy. So if you're gay, you're gay. Start with that. Okay. If you're transgender, you're transgender. If your 8-year-old thinks they're a girl, so you chop their bits off. If yeah, I don't know, whatever, you name it, right? Celebrate it, enjoy it, all that kind of stuff, right? Enjoy it, celebrate it, everything. Well, like logically speaking, that's what I would ask some of these people. What is the logical, what is the thing that prevents us from saying, hey, if relationships with 14-year-olds can be very nourishing and kind of a guiding figure in your life, and it can actually be healthier and all this. What's to prevent that conversation from becoming normalized, which is the precursor to the action becoming normalized and eventually celebrated? What's the logical, fundamental kind of what's the word? Ontology, is that the word? To stop you walking into that territory? Like, is there one? Because I think it's all been deconstructed, and the only thing left is the kind of, I'm proud to say I'm, they say the mob, I say the people. The people, they say the pitchfork wielders, I say damn right, yeah. I say, and metaphorically, the metaphorical pitchfork, by the way, for the old Nyardi, don't get me wrong. I am a populist in that way, and the only thing that is left is that populist fire, metaphorical, obviously, And the only thing left is that energy, that populist, the people themselves going, I don't like this. Moms, dads, people going, get the fuck away from my child. They're not going to glitter hole with this. I think it was this comedian as well. I have to get onto her as well because I thought it was funny. I wish I could play it for you, but I can't because my internet isn't up to scratch. Where is it now? Where are you? So her name is Hannah Mamalis. She's this Jewish comedian. So she puts up this big thread. She's Jewish, female, Irish, and what else? A comedian. I'm just noting her nationality, her religion background, her gender, and her occupation or her passion, whatever it is. So that's what she is, right? And she's like posting about Gemma O'Doherty, saying Gemma's kind of posting like, oh, how do I put it? How do I put this? You have to see it to believe it. I wish I had the visual aids here. God damn. This is can I share screen? I wonder, can I share a quick screen with you? See if you can see it. Share screen, screen one. This is probably going to kill my bandwidth here. Is it working? Okay, so you can see it there, the picture in the center screen. I'm not going to leave this up for long. It's your 1-0, Hannah, in some, like, I think she was part of Glitter Hole. If I'm wrong, don't sue me. I'm just making a mistake there. But a comedian of some description, very kind of like this. It's hard for me to find the word to describe the breed of this comedy. A different type of American cosmopolitan kind of comedy, and it's not funny. It's not. I don't mean like that's not funny when it actually is funny. I don't mean that kind of way. I mean it's just not funny and it's weird. And it's the reason it's not funny as well is because they cling to taboos. Oh, Davies, Sarah Silver with her Jesus joke, this kind of stuff, like this kind of crass for the sake of being crass. The kind of abortionista type thing of like, dead babies, and this kind of stuff with the bloody baby coming out of the womb and being like, oh, it's funny because I'm being transgressive and I'm taking the piss out of conservatives and their reaction is part of the joke, and ha ha ha. I'm like, yeah, but the thing about that is that at no point is it funny. And I'll explain. I'll get back to the point here, guys. Bear with me, right? But I'm like going, that's not funny. And because you think it's funny, it prevents you from ever being funny because you actually can't come up with anything that's funny. And the other thing about it, that I keep saying the word funny, the other thing that's actually funny about all this as well is that the same people who do this kind of stuff, who are like, are you shocked, conservative? Are you shocked, normal world? I have put a baby in a blender. It's an abortion baby. Ha ha ha. Oh, look at how shocked you are. That's the joke, or whatever. It's like, okay, ha ha, grand. Irish lives matter. White lives matter. Whatever. Come up with a joke. I was joking about insomnia. Because I got the impression sincerely that they didn't support Black Lives Matter, right? Sincerely. And some people thought that was a joke, right? There's jokes like that. The guy with White Lives Matter over Etihad Stadium, something like that. These same people, like this person, would shit their pants, right? And want you to get fired and go, this is not funny. There's nothing funny about this. So it's like, wait, so it's not actually an ethic or a principle you have of transgressiveness and shockingness, right? Of like breaking taboos and making people offended, right? That's not actually the root thing you have going on, because we can see you get shocked and appalled by very inoffensive things, right? It's not that. It's more particular than that, and I just think it's funny to look at these people that way, So she's saying, she's laughing at that, ha 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 ha, Gemma O'Doherty. Now, bear in mind, that is weird, right? Is that here's the point. It's that picture, as you can see on screen, of her with baby, and it's just some old painting. I'm not very cultured. I can't name it, but she's reenacting that, and haha. And Roderick O'Gorman retweeted that at some point. And they go, oh, you're so stick in the mud. It's just a bit of a joke. I'm like, well, you know what I mean? I talked about like advocating for third racism. I think mutilating babies, you know, generally speaking, is kind of like probably something I'd put in third rail category, and I'd be proud to do it. I'd say, you know what, I actually, if you have children yourself, or you have nieces or nephews or whatever, and just even if you don't, it's like you go, actually, that's a sacred thing, and I don't like that at all. It's unhealthy. I don't like that. You're fucking disgusting. And whether you make it illegal or not, doesn't matter. It's just you're fucking disgusting and whatever. And Roderick O'Gorman is sharing this, and that was how this came up. So anyway, this Hannah Mamalis says, she's like, oh, that's so funny. These people are triggered type of thing. And this is a person who's all about direct, like, direct provision person got served a baguette with some ragu or some thing that wasn't tasty enough. This is shocking. Or, this kind of stuff. Like they'll share like direct provision is terrible. And unsurprisingly, she has a point of view like this. But, they're all moralism. So it's like, that's just what I hate. It's like you're full of moralizing or like pearl clutching, just not on certain things. So she's trying to pretend that she's edgy. It's the pretend edginess of comedians like these people, right? Like Hannah Mamalis and these kind of progressive cosmopolitan comedians, right? It's like pretend edginess is what I'm getting at. So anyway, she does this thing. I'm going to share this. Is there audio shared? It's probably not worth even going down this road, really. Stop screen, share screen. It's nice to be sharing screen, albeit for the little bit here. Share audio, share. So she's like,
me, your local pedophile. Hey, what up, my dudes? It's me, your pedophile. Just let you know, I'll be sending out the pedophile newsletter tomorrow. Hey, what up, my dudes? It's me, your local pedophile. Just let you know, I'll be sending out the pedophile newsletter tomorrow.
First off, she says to, like, Yankee kind of like,
I'll be sending out the pedophile newsletter tomorrow.
tomorrow, like, and just this weird like D4 kind of weird accent. But what she's trying to do obviously is just laugh at it. It's that kind of thing where like the thing you're defending on, because she's kind of defending the whatever it is, the argument against her, the idea that Roderick O'Gorman retweeted that and she did it and she's part of the photos. She's on defense. it's defense in some regard, right? But she's trying to say, I'm not defending myself, I'm laughing at it, right? I'm laughing at this is so funny. Get a load of this, everybody, and it's like, okay, so the point you're trying to make is like, oh, hey, your local pedophile sending out my pedophile newsletter, as if this is so ridiculous that I can say this because it's so preposterous. She's saying it's so preposterous that I can laugh back at it with this kind of satire. But it's like, well, that implies that it is conspiracy theorist craziness. No, Roderick O'Gorman did retweet you like mutilating a baby, which is a joke in its own. I don't particularly care, but he's Minister for Children now, so he should, it's a bit weird. And in conjunction, more importantly, the origin of this whole controversy is that he associated himself proudly with a guy who said that 9-year-olds can get great joy from being raped. Now, that's not conspiracy nutter conservative, like taking stuff totally out of context. There's nothing out of context there. So you're laughing at it's bullshit. And so both your laughter is bullshit and also your edginess, I'm edgy and you're stuck in the mud, is bullshit, because we all know that, right? Because you'll, again, piss your pants if someone says Irish Lives Matter or some such. And then she says, there's one more thing while I'm on the topic that I found funny. She says, I'm crying with laughter. I'm crying with laughter. I'm crying with laughter. It's so funny. It's that kind of like try hard. Oh, so funny. I'm crying with laughter. Try hard. And then she says, she's like, thinking of setting up one of her wink, wink, nudge, nudge meetings tomorrow. Time to put the Satan back in Saturday. That doesn't even really make sense. But like, again, let's joke about it even more. Let's be like, how ridiculous is this? It's like, no, you're hiding the fact that what's at the core of this is something that isn't actually weird. It's not stuck in the mud, unless you're thinking it's stuck in the mud to be offended by people thinking 9-year-olds can get great joy from being raped. So you're pretending here. It's very much a pretend thing. But there is another bit there where she says, oh yeah, she said, well, that's enough excitement for one day. This is just funny. This is just an extra bonus point here. Well, that's enough excitement for one day. I'm done giving these C words. I'm not going to say it right. The C word, UNTS. I'm done giving these C words airtime. It's a good day. Yeah. So anyway, that's the point. I'm done giving these C words airtime, and I'm going airtime. You're just tweeting. Yeah. Your tweets have like, I don't know, 3 shares, 1 share, 0 shares, and the big one, quote unquote, has 58 shares. I don't know where you're getting your airtime from, right? Someone like this is so used to being part of a kind of a powerful kind of clique of like progressives and globalists and people like that, that she thinks it's airtime. You know, it's so funny. It's like airtime. And if I just like how many followers, I'm not a clout monger now. You know, I don't have a big YouTube. I don't have a big Twitter, by no means, right? But just out of curiosity, she has 3,000 followers on Twitter. I've 5,000. Again, not much, but insofar as it's not much, she is less again, right? And she thinks she's giving airtime to us. Like, come off the stage, love. But yeah, she's got a very
Pedophile newsletter tomorrow.
I don't know. Anyway, she's just one of these types. It's like, lads, come off the stage, you know. I'm just laughing at the chat here. You're funny, lads. But it's cool that I actually have I can share screen here, and I've not cut out yet, so I'm enjoying this. While I'm at it, let's see Phil Dwyer.
Yeah. How do you feel about this whole Are you aware of Roger O'Donnell, the new Minister for Children? Are you aware of who he has associates with? It's all over social media, and RTE aren't they're not reporting on it.
Well, there's a picture of him. There's a picture of him on his Twitter account with this associate. The name's very interesting. If you looked at his Twitter account, you'd actually be able to go, oh,
it's not somebody in their basement, it's his account. So my name is Philip Dwyer, by the way, from the National Park.
How's it going, Paul?
So on his own Twitter account, he has a picture of this guy who is purporting to be, let's say, he likes pedophilia. He talks openly about the joys of it. So it's on his own account, but it's going to be exposed. It's going to be a big story, and we're going to expose it. So it'd be maybe a good story for you to expose if you weren't afraid of the establishment.
Probably like it'd be all right if the national broadcaster actually done its job. You know?
Yeah, boy. Good point.
He is the Minister for Children, and he's associated with people who are sympathetic to pedophilia.
That was great. That was unreal. Sometimes I watch. I think I'm on a high horse. Watching from afar, the comfort of my living room, and people say things, people make these kind of moves, and I go, great move, but like, you could have executed that better. I kind of like to think, I'd be a bit rhetorically better. Listen to that though. Rhetorical, like precision, he says.
Just spinning some narrative.
He is the Minister for Children.
Wait, no.
Associated with people who are...
That's it. Sorry, I'm getting kind of Asperger's about it here, finicky.
Spinning some narrative.
He is the Minister for Children, and he's associated with people who are sympathetic to pedophilia.
Boom! Could you have said that better? He's Minister for Children, and he's associating with people who are sympathetic to pedophilia. That's completely accurate. Watching him, the comedian woman, whatever her name is, Hannah, it could be like, oh, guys, this is so funny. She could do that all she wants, but that's very factual and true. And most Irish people are on the side of people like Phil Dwyer and this gentleman with him, and not this strange comedian. Someone says Asperger's. Did I pronounce the condition wrong? I don't know. I was just afraid of saying the other one, the one AUTISTIC. I hope I'm spelling right there. But because that's a kind of figure of speech. But now I'm afraid YouTube will get me for being like against people who are non-neurotypical. You get my point. I was trying to say I'm being silly, but or not being silly. I'm being, you know what I'm saying. I thought I was being autistic basically, but that's a great video there. So what else is there? Kira Kelly, good old Kira Kelly, our medical expert. our selfie wielding medical expert in News Talk, she came out vigorously against the controversy, highlighting the controversy. One of Ireland's finest journalists, representing, I won't say representing, but in effect, from my point of view, representing or I would say spearheading the push for Roderick O'Gorman to come out, clarify, apologize, and disavow this controversy. So Ciara Kelly, everybody, based our girl, Dr. Ciara Kelly, coming out strong. So very proud of Ciara Kelly. I think we all are. I think we can all say we're proud of Ciara Kelly, journalist, doctor extraordinaire. Cosson Ireland says, what is frightening is that Roderick O'Gorman's department will be helping, I stole his point a while ago, is that his department will be helping draft so-called hate speech laws that would have stopped us reporting on his associations with a known paedophile advocate. Groit Media, to point out the petition being taken down, at Rebel Pikeman on Twitter, the Rebel, says, retweet if you think Micheál Martin needs to come out and address Minister for Children Roderick O'Gorman's controversial association with Peter Tatchell. His department has also been given responsibility for unaccompanied foreign minors by this government. It's very worrying. I mean, that's no joke. Unaccompanied foreign minors are often victims of trafficking, and we want someone in government who not only isn't a paedophile, but also we want someone who is razor sharp on condemning and distancing himself, and condemning, moreover, all hints of anything to do with abuse of vulnerable minors. And there will be vulnerable minors. You know, they often do actually get used and abused in the direct provision system, the asylum industry, and just by general foreign crime rackets, you know, Albanian, a lot of Nigerian ones too, prostituting people out. So I will say, yeah, Rebel Pikeman on Twitter, go follow and share. So listen, lads, I think that's about the most of it there. Yeah. Let me check some chat. I'm always very bad at checking the chat, you know, because I kind of get lost in all the different ones. Yeah. Someone says Micheál Martin needs to come out all right. Yeah. The petition being taken down is scandalous. I mean, what the hell? Like, it just goes to show you, you know, what the powers that be consider taboo and what they don't, and that itself is a very illuminating thought. So yeah, look, I will leave it there. I would say have a good weekend, and go do something good. Get offline a little bit, even for a few hours. I'm not saying that you're all online junkies, of course. You'd be no more than me anyway. But yeah, I would say get out to somewhere natural. So if you're in the country, great. But if you're in a city, just go to a beach, leave the phone behind, and put 1 hour no phone into walking around the place, and let your imagination run away with you. It can be a refreshing thing to do once in a while. So on that note, have a good weekend. Thank you for listening and watching. Ihawa. See ya.